Hello Gold Farmers, welcome to another Going Out to Farming video. Today we'll be taking another look at Forager, and we will be taking a look at a build that I had created. This build is the purpose of just trying to level up as fast as you can and progress through the game from leveling up as opposed to the storyline or using other content as part of progressing. The whole point of leveling up really fast is so that way you can get other skills to unlock other parts of the game in as quickly of a manner as possible. And the build that I'm going to show you guys today is, I'm going to call it the Millionare build. Basically, how I started off was I put all of my skill points towards the skills that would lead me up to capitalism, which allows you to gain experience while selling items. Now, I did try this another way without getting this skill point, which is the commerce, and it doesn't work. You do have to have commerce, which allows you to sell items instead of destroying them. So you do have to kind of come up and get the economy, coinage, trade, and then the commerce, and then you'll have to work your way over to capitalism, which that took me about 45 minutes to actually get enough skill points to get there, so that's really not that bad at all. And then once I got capitalism, I worked my way towards brilliance, which thankfully it's not really that hard to get to. And of course I'm able to start selling items at this point and able to get experience. So the levels are much quicker, and the brilliance does stack on top of your items sold. So if you just sell one item, you'll only get 1 experience. However, if you sell 5 items, you get 6 experience. So instead of 5, which makes it really nice. That means the more items you have, the more experience you'll end up getting, because it has a 20% increase for that experience gain. So the next part of this build that I am going to work towards will be whatever skills increase my yield for materials. Thankfully, there are actually a couple of skills that allow me to do that. The first one is the wood cutting, and then the next one that will be right here is your mining, and the wood cutting increases the wood dropped, and mining increases the materials gained from rocks. Then after I do that, I'm going to go straight up for mining, and then you got your missionary, or masonry, which unlocks your bazaars, which those are kind of meaningless. I don't use them. I don't really care too much for the extra light or anything. But then you'll want your machinery, which unlocks the flower press, which again, don't really need that, especially at this point of the game. But what we are actually working towards is the automation, which is right after your machinery, which unlocks your mining rods. Of course, you'll also need to get industry so that you can craft the mining rods, but outside of that, it really shouldn't take you too much time to get all of that. The reason why we are heading towards the mining rods is so that way we can still collect materials. However, we don't really have to do a whole lot, or we can be collecting 2 times the amount of materials, maybe even more if you have more than 1 mining rod up. Just so that way you are still continuously collecting materials while you're off doing other things in the game. Rather, you're trying to complete puzzles or collect materials yourself. One bad thing about this build is you do have to be careful, because you won't be getting any of the abilities that allow you to either regain health or, and I just did it again, but you won't be getting any of the materials that allow you to regain your health or anything over time for the very first few levels you use this build for. So I would recommend trying to stick to maybe 3 or 4 lands to start. Mostly because after your 5th land, I believe you start to unlock harder enemies, which is the bull, and those are actually a very hard mob during the beginning of the game, especially if you're a new player and you don't really play a whole lot of these type of games. So as you guys can see right now, I am only level 11 and I'm going to sell off my stone and wood. So a lot of you may be wondering what items are okay to sell and which ones aren't okay to sell. Well, the only ones that I wouldn't really recommend selling would be anything that allows you to gain your energy back. However, if you have a ton of this, like what I do here, I'd just go ahead and start selling off some of your other materials, or some of your food, because you really don't need that much. And as you can see, I am now almost level 12, just from that little bit. Another thing to keep in mind is your inventory will end up filling up really fast because we're not focusing on getting more inventory or storage, we're focusing on levels. Another great thing to keep in mind about this build is you will be collecting a ton of gold and money along the way, so if you want, you can buy a market, or you can craft a market if you really wanted to. I believe, hold on. So you won't be able to craft a market because you need leather, and you won't be able to get leather until you get the sewing. So you can't really build the market, and so I wouldn't really worry too much about your money, but in the long run you will have enough money saved up to afford all of your lands later on in the game, and of course once you start buying more lands you'll end up leveling it faster and all of that. I wouldn't start worrying too much about buying more lands until after you get your mining rod. That will be all though, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more content.